Think positive.
Welcome or welcome back to the Golan Bros podcast. GA for short. I'm your host, Prince. This is a space for inner work, self-improvement, self-discovery, mindset, accountability, integrity, reflection, and personal development. This podcast is built for growth, for honesty, and for becoming a better version of yourself, one day at a time. New episodes drop every Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Today's episode is called Season for Loss. The more you try, the more you lose. The days you get back up, you get knocked back down. Areas of life seem empty, so you try to pour into them, but nothing flows out. Without any resistance, where is the growth? I try so much, but I keep losing. Losing what? Things. What do you mean? I try to make things work. I try to do better. I try to keep moving forward. And somehow, the more I try, the more I lose. So what does that make you think? That maybe I'm doing something wrong? Or maybe trying doesn't guarantee that you won't lose something? Then what's the point of trying? Because losing something doesn't mean the effort meant nothing. But it feels like it does. Why? Because I keep getting back up just to get knocked back down. And maybe that's what you're trying to understand. What? How to keep moving when trying doesn't change the outcome. I think that's where the frustration comes from. Not from never trying, but from trying so much and still watching things change. You can put effort into something. You can genuinely care about the outcome. Give something your time, your attention, your patience. You can show up, make adjustments. You can learn from what didn't work before. And still, sometimes the outcome isn't what you wanted. That can make trying feel almost pointless. Because we naturally want effort to lead somewhere. If you work harder, you expect to see progress. Put more into something, you expect something to come back. If you keep showing up, you expect the situation to eventually change. But it doesn't always work that way. That doesn't make the effort meaningless. It just means effort isn't the only thing controlling the outcome. There's also something exhausting about constantly having to recover. You get back up. You start moving again. You begin to feel like you're finally getting somewhere. Then something knocks you back down, and you're left asking yourself, how many times am I supposed to do this? Because getting back up sounds simple when you say it, but actually doing it over and over again is different. Eventually, you start remembering the last time you fell. You start anticipating the next thing that could go wrong, and start wondering if getting back up is even worth it, if you're just going to end up back on the ground. That can change the way you move. You become more cautious. You hesitate, question things you wouldn't have questioned before. Not necessarily because you've become weaker, maybe because you've learned that things can change, that something can be here today and gone tomorrow. Progress can be real and still not last forever. And that's a difficult thing to accept. There are areas of life that can feel empty without there being an obvious way to explain why. You can have things going well in one area while another area feels completely disconnected. Can be productive and still feel unfulfilled. You can be surrounded by activity and still notice the quiet spaces. And when something feels empty, the instinct is usually to pour something into it. More time, more effort, more attention. You know how it goes. anything that makes the space feel less noticeable, but sometimes nothing flows out. You can pour and still feel like you're standing in the same place. And that's when the question becomes bigger than, what am I missing? It becomes, why am I trying so hard to feel something that may need something completely different? Trying is important, but trying has a limit. There are things effort can change, and there are things effort can't. You can control how much you prepare, how much you care, how much you respond, but you can't control another person's decision. You can't control timing, every circumstance, or whether something stays. And that's where effort becomes complicated. The easiest thing is to blame yourself, but eventually you have to recognize that not every ending is evidence of failure. Sometimes something ends because it's reached its ending, and that doesn't erase everything that happened before it. Which brings me back to that question, without any resistance, where is the growth? Because resistance can teach you, difficulty can expose things, struggle can force you to look at yourself differently. But not every struggle immediately makes sense. Sometimes you're in the middle of it, and there is no lesson yet. There is just experience and uncertainty. There's just the feeling of wondering when something is going to change. Sometimes you're changing without realizing you're changing. And the only thing you can recognize is that you don't respond to things the same way you used to. That might be growth too. Maybe that's where the real work begins. Not immediately replacing what was lost, not forcing something new into the empty space, not pretending that nothing changed. Sometimes you just need to acknowledge that something is gone, and then figure out how to continue from there. There are seasons where the only thing you can do is keep moving, because standing still doesn't change what already happened. The loss is still loss. The empty space is still there. The unanswered questions are still unanswered. Maybe some things don't need closure. They just stop. I hope you found something worth taking with you today. Maybe a new perspective. Maybe a moment to pause and reflect. Thank you for being here and sharing this space with me. Your presence matters. If this resonated with you, share it with someone you care about, because growth spreads through connection. I'll see you next time. Take care of yourself, stay grounded, and as always, be safe.